Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady, and what do you do every year? You get a Christmas tree. It's Christmas time coming up, if you forgot. But what do you do when you get your Christmas tree, and then you're done with it, and then you toss it out every year? Like, I don't know how many trees that is. Maybe we'll figure that out here in a second. But there is a different way, apparently. And to talk about that different way is Josh Johnson with QsTN. We're talking about Christmas trees and no-cut Christmas trees, which is a crazy concept, but that's what we're going to talk about today. Apparently, this is a thing. So Thanks for coming in the studio to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to kind of share this new idea with people and just kind of see where it goes. I feel like it could really be a thing. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about broadly what it is. We're going to get into all the details, but tell everyone broadly, what is a no-cut Christmas tree and how is that possible? And then I have a lot of questions surrounding that.
Basically, it is a tree that's been planted and grown in a pot. As it gets bigger, you put it in a bigger pot so that root system is contained within the pot. Since it's in a pot, that allows us to be able to deliver it to people. We can drop it off to them before the holidays, and we can pick it up afterwards. So you're kind of essentially like renting a tree almost for the holidays. And we do give people the option of keeping the tree if they would like. But if people don't have space for a tree, they can give it back to us afterwards, and it goes back out to the tree farm where it keeps growing and eventually gets planted.
So there's a lot to unpack there. But what I didn't know until researching this topic is that there is actually a raging sustainability debate on Christmas trees. Of course, I had no idea. But there is apparently there is fake trees. So some people advocate for fake trees because they're like, well, then you're not cutting down trees. But then there's plastic involved in fake trees. So that's a concern.
Yep.
And then some people advocate for the real trees because you can cut them down, then you can compost them. So it's all fine. So apparently this is actually a thing that people are concerned about, which I had no idea. So do you fall on one side of the debate or other side? Is this kind of a debate you are seeing happening over at QsTN?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that people are thinking about and trying to kind of wrestle with. I think what we're doing is just trying to provide people another option. For some people might find it kind of the easier option to pursue. We really try to make it easy, offering delivery, taking it back to the tree farm, planting a tree. And then once people start like kind of digging into it and thinking about it, they're like, oh, this feels like it just kind of makes sense. And to where it no longer needs to be a debate. They're just like, this is easy. This feels right. I'm just going to do this one.
Sure. So why? Like, what are people's main motivations for doing this? Well, is it mostly sustainability conscious? Is that the goal, or are there other motivations behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other motivations. Like when you look at today's options, you can either go cut a Christmas tree, which after you cut down a tree, it's going to start drying out. So when it dries out, there's more of that fire risk can be associated with that. It'll start dropping needles as it dries out. And then after the holidays, you got to find a place or figure out what to do with that cut tree. Do you put it out on the curb? You got to go buy a tag for it for somebody to pick it up.
Oh, true. That's right.
Do you have to, I've heard people that give them to goats. I've heard people that throw them in a pond to create an ecosystem for fish.
Give them to goats?
Yeah, goats will eat the needles off of cut trees. Yeah.
Really?
So there's different options you can do with the cut tree.
That is bizarre.
But the safety concerns, the mess that comes with dropping needles, we have better needle retention on a potted tree since it is alive and it has roots. But even if you don't get a cut tree and you do an artificial tree, you still have to store that all year.
Yeah.
I mean, any artificial Christmas tree owner will tell you the most annoying part of an artificial Christmas tree is setting it up and tearing it down afterwards.
True.
That's the biggest, and probably more the latter. After the holidays when all the fun is gone, you got to pack it all away, store it all year. Hopefully you have room in your house or apartment to store it. But for people who are maybe already limited on space, potted Christmas trees are a great option because you don't have to store it. We'll deliver it straight to you, so you don't have to have a truck or a vehicle that can move it. So really making it easy year round with storage. You can feel good about where it goes because it's going back to where it continues to grow until eventually it's getting planted in the world. So there's just a lot of benefits that I feel like whether you do a cut tree or an artificial tree, you can kind of think through the pros and cons of each, and you can land on potted trees. Makes sense.
That was one of my questions. Is you mentioned some people throw these in in ponds for sustainability reasons. Some people compost them. I think that's what happens in at least Des Moines where I live. You get a tag, you tag your tree, and I think they compost it. At least that's what they claim they're doing.
Yep, or chip it up or something.
Yeah, and this isn't a trick question or trap question at all. I honestly want to know: is there a clear, more sustainable choice? Of cutting, just because obviously you're doing a potted tree, which sounds pretty sustainable to me. But just cutting down a tree versus a plastic one, is there is the debate being settled, or is that still up for debate? Because that's, I think, my big question is that do people even, does the science or the data fall on either side?
Yeah, I think when it comes to a cut tree versus an artificial tree, the debate is still ongoing. There's a lot of factors. Where's the tree coming from?
Oh, that's a good point.
Was the artificial tree shipped in from overseas?
Oh,
how long are you getting a useful life out of that artificial tree? So there's a lot of factors, and I think it could be debated a lot. But ultimately, we feel like planting a tree that's going to continue to grow and live is better than a cut tree or an artificial tree, both of which eventually get discarded.
How many trees generally are being cut down in this country, or even globally? I don't is this?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to look that up. I've looked at the American Christmas Tree Association before for statistics like that, and I'd probably check in with them because that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
American Christmas Tree Association.
Yep.
What does such an association do?
According to their website, the American Christmas Tree Association is a nonprofit organization that serves as a resource for media and consumers seeking information about Christmas trees.
That's hilarious. All right, so let walk us through how this works, because we did an overview at the top of the show here, but I know that people are a little curious.
Yeah.
So obviously you're keeping these in pots somehow, but trees are big. They kind of grow big. So at some point, isn't the pot too small? You're moving the pot. Walk us through.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I'm assuming these trees are local somewhere.
Yep. So we've partnered with Bentley Ridge Tree Farm and Nursery, which is out in Grimes. It's a great group of people. Many of you have probably heard of them, but they're a tremendous tree farm and nursery. Acres of land that they're growing trees on. They have a beautiful greenhouse and facility out there. So definitely check them out if you're looking for a nursery or to get your trees from. But all the trees come from Bentley Ridge. We have a system out there where basically it's a pot and a pot system. So there's a larger pot that's dug into the ground that the potted trees are placed into. That allows the tree's root system to get the insulation from the earth naturally. That protects those roots. But as you said, as the tree grows, you have to move it into a larger pot until eventually it will, the pot would just get so big that it has to be planted. So right now our typical size is from the 6.5 foot range. From the ground to the top of the tree is 6.5 feet. Next year, we're potentially hoping to have trees that are around the 7 or greater than 7 foot size. But with that, you do get a larger pot, so the pot becomes a little more cumbersome. But right now, we feel like we've got a perfect size. It's a 15-gallon sized pot. 6.5 foot trees. They're nice, tall, slender Norway spruces.
So this is not just an Iowa thing. This is obviously catching on in other parts of the country. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this because this is a thing people are doing. What you kind of indicated it a little bit in that answer, but I want to push in on it a little bit. There is a point that these trees are being delivered. Well, we're going to talk about that too. There's a point these trees are being delivered. They're potted trees being delivered to your house, right?
Yep.
Or do you pick them up?
We allow people both options.
Okay,
so you can pick it up, pick it out. You know, if you want to look at the trees and kind of choose one, you can do so out at the tree farm in Grimes.
Oh, you can still go out there and do the. Oh,
Yep. So you know, that's a very common, you know, family tradition. People go out, pick out the tree. So if you'd like, you can visit the tree farm out in Grimes and pick a tree that works for you. And we can either, you know, then deliver that one, or you can take it home with you that day. Otherwise, we offer delivery straight to your doorstep.
And so there is how many times do they move the tree from pot to pot? How many times does that have to happen? You mentioned it's in the ground. So like it's a pot in the ground and somehow it sucks its nutrients from the dirt?
Yep.
So the pot is somewhat permeable.
Yeah. So Bentley Ridge.
Crazy.
You know, they are the tree experts, and they create a soil mixture that is, you know, creates an environment that promotes that root health. So that those roots stay healthy in the pot. One of the reasons that we utilize Norway spruce is because they are known to thrive and do well in a pot environment.
Oh, crazy.
Not all trees will do that and will be able to grow and remain healthy in a pot. So the fact that we're using Norway's is somewhat strategic in that is a specific tree type that does well in a pot.
And so are there different sizes then people can get? Like if it's been planted recently and it's in a pot, that would be a smaller tree. And then some people want a tree that's like 3 years old because it's like whatever, I don't know the years, but it's a little taller. So do you have first year, second year trees at different sizes?
Right. So this year we're only offering our 6.5 foot trees. So so we picked that because we feel like it's really the perfect balance of height and size. It's a really nice, tall, slender tree, about 6.5 feet tall, comes down to about maybe a 3 foot wide base, and very manageable to move around and get, you know, placed right where you want it.
And so how many times does a tree typically move pots then? Like throughout its life?
You know, maybe 3 times or so.
And then, so you indicated this earlier. So they're moving. This is crazy to me, by the way, like moving trees in different pots all the time is wild. Did not know we could do that. But there is a point then where it's like too big to move around and they just plant it. So like, well, what's that end? Not even end of life, but beginning of new life. Guess I don't know how to call it. What is that process like?
Yep. So it is just planting the tree. So it's pulling the tree out of the pot and placing it into the hole, where whether it's end user, the customer wants to plant it in their backyard, or maybe it's a business that wants a tree planted somewhere, placing it in the hole right where they want it, and it, you know, grows from there.
Got it. So they are essentially they're doing the Christmas tree thing, but they're also growing trees for landscaping purposes, to plant in yards. You mentioned that there's an option to keep the tree. And so like at the end of the year, you don't want to return your tree. You want to keep it for maybe sentimental reasons, or heck, you need a tree.
Yep.
And so you can go out in January, dig a hole and plant the tree. Like this is a thing?
Yeah. Well, so there's a little bit of a process to it.
Okay,
so I've often talked to people that are like, well, we were already thinking about planting a tree, so this might work really well for us to use it as a Christmas tree first and then go plant it. So we had several people last year that did just that. And the process we recommend, if someone's choosing to do that, is since it's in your home, you know, it's in a 60s, 70s degree environment. And what we want to avoid is shocking that tree. So not taking it directly back outside, but instead maybe taking it to like a garage or an environment where it's maybe, you know, 40s, 50s, cooler, but not Iowa winter cold.
Sure.
And letting it stay there for a few weeks, if possible, continuing to water it in there. But that will allow the tree to kind of get used to those cooler temperatures again.
Really? So it doesn't need light that whole period?
So the evergreen does, can survive in low light environments.
Real? Oh, okay.
Especially when it's cooler and in sort of a more dormant state.
More of a dormant state.
And so, yeah, after, if people can either keep it in their garage until springtime, and then can go plant it in the ground, which we had several customers do last year. And
So
reports that still growing and doing well.
So people would literally go to their backyard and say, "Oh, this was Christmas 2024.
Yep,
this one
exactly.
was Christmas 2025."
Yeah,
so that's kind of interesting.
And it can be a great way to kind of keep those moments alive, whether it's you moved into a new home
Pun intended,
or
right?
it was the newborn's first Christmas or first year in a new home or
That's
something like that. You
fascinating.
can kind of keep those milestones in the backyard, maybe creating a windbreak over the years or something. But if people have the space and want to plant their Christmas tree, this is like a new option that hasn't really been available.
So, I mean, walk people through what this looks like in a living room, because in my mind, I hear it's in a pot of some kind. And in my mind, this pot is enormous and there's like water and dirt all over my living room rug. So like, I mean, if it's a 6 foot tall tree and this giant pot, like, how does that work?
Yeah. So the pot is about maybe 16 inches or so wide by about 18 inches tall. It also comes with a saucer that the pot sits onto. We provide a saucer that catches any water that seeps through the pot, protects flooring. And so from there, then it's, 5 foot of tree. So in total, it's about 6.5 feet. You use your own tree skirt or tree collar around the pot. Yep. Yeah. You can use all your own decorations. So tree skirt or tree collar, you use your own lights. We do recommend LED lights, which most Christmas lights these days are all LED.
Yeah, most of them are.
That's because any older lights that get really hot can actually burn the needles. And
that's pleasant.
If you're already, if you're still using those lights, it might be a good idea to switch over to LEDs anyways, to prevent any sort of fire risk that might be associated with those. But otherwise, use all your own decorations and decorate it like a traditional Christmas tree. And that's kind of what you could expect.
Now, like, people aren't going to Bentley Ridge in this case and like transporting these home on their own, are they? Because it seems like that would be really heavy and cumbersome.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly can. So if you have a pickup truck,
if you're really
obviously
ambitious,
you can throw it in the back of the pickup truck. They're probably 40 to 50 pounds or so. So they're not incredibly heavy. They're very, they're manageable to just get it in the truck and get it inside.
Team, though.
I mean, I could carry one. I feel like you could carry one.
Yeah. Lift with your back. No, just kidding. Don't lift with your back.
But yeah, you can put the back of a pickup truck, obviously. But if people have a van or SUV, you can put the seats down and it'll actually go in sideways.
No way.
Because these trees have been in these pots and in this soil, throughout the year, a little more compact, so it doesn't tip out like you might expect.
Really,
fresh and loose soil to kind of spill out. So I would still recommend putting down a blanket or a tarp or something inside, just because there will be some debris that would likely fall out. But it's definitely doable. We had several customers do that last year, just put it in their SUV or van and take it home. Another thing that we tried was we have a rack that goes on the back of our van, like into just gets mounted on the back, and you can just set it on that rack and tie it down to the rack of the back of the vehicle and drive with it that way. So there's several options, but if you want to keep it simple and keep it easy, we'll just deliver it straight to your door.
What's been the reception so far in Iowa? Like Iowa, I would imagine, just based on what I know about Iowans, very traditional. And Iowans, and this is, I think, a good thing, actually. Iowans aren't always the first to jump on things, which is probably why our economy is like stable all the time, because we're not like shiny object. We're calculated. We think about things before we do it. And so have Iowans like thought, oh, this is a brilliant idea, I need to do this? Or have they been a little skeptical, like, this is a little wacky, Josh. I'm going to let other people do this a little bit first.
Well,
What's been the reception so
as
far?
an Iowan, I can also say Iowans are often very logical and common sense.
Yeah.
And when you start explaining this to people, a lot, it's very well received. People are like, oh, this is a great idea. This just kind of makes sense, And so, yeah, it's been well received. People really like the idea. And that's kind of what has led us to keep trying it and trying to just raise awareness and tell people about it and explain it. Because, like I said, whether you use a cut tree or an artificial tree, it feels like this is kind of a middle ground that really works well for people who have artificial trees or people who use cut trees. I've talked to both, and both of them say like, wow, we're going to do this year. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking to people and getting those reactions.
It is a living tree. And so watering it, you already mentioned that the light isn't really a problem, although some people could probably put them next to like a window. But you mentioned that the Norway spruce are very resilient kind of trees. They're made for this. You can put them in the garage. It's all really, really cool. But I think the big concern everybody would probably have is that it is a living tree. And so if they have like a dog in the house, is the dog going to pee on it all the time?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would say, I have dogs in our home. We have one of these trees. Our dog has never peed on this tree.
Really? That's actually funny.
Yeah, I feel like dogs are, they probably have a pretty good habit of going outside to pee, but every dog is unique, so you never know.
I had to ask that one.
Yeah.
So how do people find this if they're interested and they want to get a more sustainable tree? A tree. I shouldn't use the word sustainable. It's maybe not the best word, but if they want to get a tree, a no cut. Let me call it no cut.
Yeah, it's a no cut potted tree.
Yeah.
You can go to our website, which I'm sure we can have a link with this video.
We'll certainly link it. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's christmas.q-dsm.
Okay, wait, Christmas, say that again.
Yeah, it's christmas.q-dsm.com.
Got it, okay.
And so, yeah, the link will be the easiest option. We'll get people directed towards that. But yeah, you can go there, place your order, and pick out what day you would like it delivered, what day you'd like it picked up, and we'll get you a potted Christmas tree this year.
You just do the whole thing online then, and then it just comes to your door.
Yep, 100%.
Is there a now you can order and please stop ordering time range for people to know?
No, we'll take orders throughout the whole holiday season. Our last delivery currently goes out December 13th, which I believe is a Friday, and that would be the last date you could receive delivery. After that date, you'd need to go out to Bentley Ridge at the tree farm and pick it up and bring it home yourself. But otherwise, you can order it anytime now, and anytime through the holidays.
Absolutely, that's actually really cool. So before I want to ask you a little bit before we go about QsTN. Before I do that, though, do you know how many states are doing this? Like, I think you guys, QsTN and Bentley Ridge, you serve basically the greater metro area.
Yep, correct.
Do you know, are there any other cities in Iowa or nationally that are really catching on to this, or they're really like jumping into this trend?
Yeah, we kind of looked online, tried to find different places. The ones we did locate, there's options in Europe. I found one in London specifically. Couple companies in California, Oregon, Washington. But outside of those areas, I haven't seen it. I'm not aware of it anywhere else. I found tree delivery, but it's cut trees.
It's cut trees, sure.
They'll deliver cut trees, but nothing that's potted that continues to live on.
So
you're
actually I was actually really early on this then.
Yeah.
I knew it was a thing. I assumed it was like a bigger thing than it really is then, because I've seen articles about it, but it is kind of hard to find some stuff on it.
Yeah. It's, in talking with customers, they'll say, I read a thing online. I kind of heard about the idea, but I didn't know it was in Iowa yet. And I'm like, well, I think we're maybe the only ones.
Wow. Okay.
And so, it's new, and that's why we're trying to kind of raise awareness and tell people about it, help explain it, because it hasn't really been around this area at all that we're aware of.
So again, before I move, more questions are popping up, but is this, as far as like Bentley Ridge is concerned, does this change much of, like, they're in the dirt? You already mentioned that they change pots a few times, but if you go out there, is this greenhouse? Are they outside? Does this change the way they water things, or is it pretty much a matter of, no, we just have them in these in the ground pots and we move them occasionally, then we permanently plant them? That's the process. Is it that simple?
Yeah, I mean, so Bentley Ridge already has, the trees on their property in the ground. For the sake of the potted Christmas trees, they will move them into like a hoop house to get those trees acclimated to kind of the warmer
acclimation period.
Acclimated to those warmer temperatures, so that when you bring it into your home, it's not shocked from outside Iowa winters to 70-degree environment.
Crazy.
So there's kind of little things like that that they do on the back end, on the front end and the back end. But that's stuff that they do when caring for trees year round.
Sure.
So that's kind of their wheelhouse, and they, like I said, are experts in that field. They have great trees. They take great care of them, and they can provide just a wonderful tree year round.
Before I let you go, QsTN isn't just about Christmas trees. This is almost a passion project that you guys have here around this time of the year, really. I mean, think the last year was the first year you did this, correct? 2023?
Yep, correct.
So just before we go, give us a brief overview of what QsTN does.
Yeah, so QsTN, we are kind of a sustainable solutions provider. And so what we mean by that is we really work to create a more sustainable future through questioning convention. So we do that in a lot of different ways. One of the primary ways we do that is working in the energy industry, working with utilities on their energy efficiency programs, working with businesses and industrials on commercial solar projects, providing consulting and installation services around solar and other kind of energy related initiatives. And so we always try to approach those projects by better understanding kind of the outcomes and the goals, and kind of questioning maybe traditional approaches to problem solving. And so that's really where this idea came from, was, if you don't want to cut a Christmas tree, but you're not super excited about getting an artificial tree, what are your other options? And there really weren't any. And trees are, so incredibly important for creating oxygen for our world, for all kinds of benefits that come from having trees. And so if there's a solution that meets our needs during the holidays, but continues to promote and plant trees for the rest of the year, we're like, that just feels like a win-win all the way around. So, that's kind of where the idea, came from. And as we looked into it more, we're like, oh, these exist other places.
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
Let's see if we can bring something to life. So that's when we got connected with Bentley Ridge, and they were like on board from the beginning. They're like, yeah, let's try that. That sounds great.
Oh, you brought this to them.
Yeah.
Oh, wild.
And so Jimmy out at Bentley Ridge, like I said, he has been on board from the beginning, and really neither one of us really knew quite, we had never done this before, so we were figuring out a lot along the way, and he's been tremendous to work with. Can't say enough good things about the guys out at Bentley Ridge, guys and gals. And been a great partner, and we're excited to see where the future goes with everything.
So just based on what you said earlier, then Iowa is one of the first in the world to do this. Like not the first, but one of the first, at least in the country and maybe the world, to do this kind of project.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say, we're not the first in the world. It's been done before, like you said.
Right, one of the, like we are, on the cutting edge of it, at least.
We're one of the first ones to bring this, to the Midwest and into Iowa, as far as we're aware. And we're pretty excited to provide this option to people.
I guess I assumed it was like, super popular, and you guys were addressing some need, but actually you're way out ahead on this thing. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is popular in the areas where it's kind of already been established, and we're trying to bring that to Iowa.
Josh Johnson of QsTN, and obviously talking about sustainable Christmas trees today, or no-cut Christmas trees, however you want to say that. Yep. Thanks so much for coming on the Iowa podcast. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time, and hopefully people kind of got a little something out of finding another option this holiday, and maybe it's an option for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa Podcast.